All right, it is week 10 of the 2023 season, and we have got an AFC North clash going down this Sunday from M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, when the 5-3 Cleveland Browns take on the 7-2 Baltimore Ravens. I'm Unger to the Max, and since we're playing the Baltimore Ravens, there's only one guy I could reach out to set up and do a video collaboration with, and that's my dude right off to my right here, Team Keep It Clean, Engraven Vids. It's been a while since you and I have talked.
Yeah. It's been a while, man, but happy to be back. I appreciate you having me on, man.
I mean, like I said, you're the ultimate Ravens fan, so I had to reach out to you. But before we get into the game itself, tell me about meeting Tom Grossi and going to M&T Bank Stadium and all that. I watched that whole thing.
Yeah. Tom Grossi was cool, man. It was cool what he was doing this summer. And he ended up winning Packers Fan of the Year. So congrats to him for that. But yeah, he was cool, down to earth. Just same way just like he is in the videos, that's the same way he is in person. But it was nice because I had been to M&T Bank Stadium a lot for games, but I appreciated it more because I had never been like behind the scenes for M&T Bank Stadium. I never got a tour of M&T Bank Stadiums. I didn't even know that they did tours at M&T Bank Stadium until then. So I really appreciated him providing that opportunity to me and him having even reached out in the first place because he didn't have to do that. But he was real cool guy. And it was a real cool just chance to meet him, just to see. It was crazy to see the support in Baltimore and just really all through all the cities. But it was cool to see the support for him in Baltimore. And he's not even a Ravens fan. He's not even a Ravens. Yeah, so just to see all the people that came out willing to support what he was doing and whatnot, that was really nice.
Nice. I wanted to meet him when he came to Cleveland, but unfortunately I was out of town. So hopefully I get another opportunity in the future. But anyway, getting into this Browns Ravens game, I mean, I know the Chiefs right now, according to the standings, are the best team in the AFC. No, you guys are the best team in the AFC. What you guys have done over these past 2 weeks against the Detroit Lions and the Seattle Seahawks, you know, the Lions came into Baltimore with all this hype and all that. And Seattle, everybody thinks they're this great team that's going to make some noise in the playoffs. You guys outscored both Detroit and Seattle a combined 75-9. That defense is no joke.
Yeah. The defense, they've been doing pretty good. They've been doing a really good job overall this season. But one thing I think that's important is that while they did outscore them like 75-76-9, and those were two teams that were coming in hot. They also gave up 24 points to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are a bad team. The Cardinals are what 1-6 or 1-7 right now. They're not a good team at all, and the Ravens struggle with them. And that's been one thing that while 7-2 is great, it's nice. But one thing that we've seen with the Baltimore Ravens, with the two losses, they came against the Colts, who have been struggling, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were struggling back then. So Ravens, they don't care what your record is, and that I think can be a great thing. But against bad teams, it can be a bad thing because they can tend to play down to opponents, sort of. So I just hope that moving forward, that they will get out of that nasty habit of playing down to opponents. And of course, everybody's still in the NFL. So these are all NFL. These are all professionals. These are all people that are great at what they do. So they all present their own challenges. But Ravens have just this nasty habit of playing down to teams. They can play up to anybody too, as we've seen, like you mentioned, but they can also play down. So hopefully they won't do that anymore.
Really, you guys should be undefeated. I mean, I would say the reason you lost that game against the Steelers was like your receivers couldn't catch the ball that day. 8 or 9 drops.
Yeah.
I think it was Rex Ryan who said something on ESPN that the receivers coach was having the Ravens receivers try and catch a rugby ball. I heard that. Go ahead.
No, even with that, he did say that, and I know a lot of people are like, oh no, they need to throw that rugby ball away. They need to get rid of it. But it's like I don't believe. Now I don't know for certain, but I wouldn't think that that pregame warm up routine. I wouldn't think that came out of nowhere. I wouldn't think that the Steelers week was the first week that they ever did that. So I think that's something. I would think that was something that has been going on, that they've been doing already, and they didn't have any issues back then. I mean, Steelers game just happened to be a really ugly off game for them with that.
It's a classic AFC North game.
There you go.
Um, for me, as a Browns fan, I should say the Steelers are our biggest rival, but no. In my opinion, you guys are our biggest rival, and I'll tell you why. It doesn't as much have to do with the fact that, Art Modell moved the Browns to Baltimore and they became the Ravens. It's more so the fact that if you look at the games between the Browns and Ravens over the past 5 or 6 years, they've come down to the wire. A lot of them have. And many of them have had some type of implications. Like, if you remember, I think it was week 17 in the 2018 season, we're playing you in Baltimore, where it was, if we beat you, then the Steelers got in the playoffs. But if you guys beat us, then you got in the playoffs. And then you had that classic Monday night football game a couple years ago where Lamar Jackson had to leave the field to use the bathroom. And then he comes back and it turns into this ultimate shootout. I think the final score was like 45-42.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that game was crazy, man. I remember that game was insane. That's when Trace McSorley, I think he tore his ACL, tore his Achilles that night on the field. And Willie Snead was actually starting to warm up at quarterback, but then Lamar ended up coming back out. So yeah, that game was, I think that might be just the way that game went, how crazy it was. That might be my favorite Ravens Browns game. One of my favorite Ravens Browns moments, though, just to go way back. I forgot what year it was, but it was a game that I was at. It was, I think, I want to say Sunday Night Football, but it was Ravens versus Browns at M&T Bank Stadium.
Okay.
Where Ravens went all black. Where Ed Reed got his historic pick six. Well, one of his historic pick sixes. But where I forgot who the Browns quarterback was, but he threw it and somebody tipped it, and Ed Reed was in the back of the end zone and he caught it, and then he came out and he went literally the whole field for a touchdown. So and I Jamal Lewis broke the record. Is that where he went over 2,000? I don't even remember, but I do remember that Ed Reed pick six, man. So that was special, man. So yeah, Ravens Browns is definitely a big rivalry. So this game, like I know last game the Browns, they had DTR starting. But this game they'll have their actual starter back with Deshaun Watson. So I would definitely anticipate it being a lot closer than it was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I was really excited going into that game. Like I was calling you out, and I made a poster when I went to that game. One side said, like, I want to get a win against Ingraven Vids. It was a whole fun thing that I did. And like going into that game, I felt like the winner of that game took control of first place in the AFC North. It was OBJ coming back, and a lot of those storylines didn't come to fruition, whatever.
Right.
But, even though you guys are 7-2, the Browns can still, hang with, I should say, get closer to you in the standings. Because if we win this game, you fall to 7-3, we move up to 6-3. We're only a game back of you.
Yeah. So yeah, the AFC North is close. It's really, really close right now. Every team is over 500. Multiple games over 500. So that's crazy to say, and I'm sure you've seen that statistic that's been put out there. If everything ended today, and of course it doesn't end today, but if the regular season ended today, all four AFC North teams would be in the playoffs, and that would be crazy. That would be something right there. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But AFC North, as always, tight race. And yeah, like you mentioned, Ravens, they're sitting at 7-2 right now, which is great. But there's no room for error. There's no room for error at all, because all the other teams are like right there on you or behind it, extremely close to you. So Ravens just got to take care of their own business, because these other teams are just waiting. They're waiting for the Ravens to slip up. The Browns, they got their quarterback back in Deshaun Watson last week. the Bengals. Joe Burrow been playing a lot better, and he's more loose now since his I guess his ankle injury is more healed now. And then even the Steelers, they keep finding ways to win as well. So all three other AFC North teams, they're right there and they're getting better. So yeah, Ravens, it's gonna be a tough division, man, as always.
Yeah. And you guys have a short week next week because you play Cincinnati on
Oh
Thursday Night
yes.
Football.
Oh.
I wish that game was being played on Thanksgiving. I wish it went. I don't know what I would do for the first game, but I would have the second game be Bengals, Ravens, and then I would keep the third game as 49ers, Seahawks. But that's just me personally.
Mm.
Um, anyway, so I like this comment by Justin Holt. Let's see who has the best defense in the league. And
Mm.
that's what I think this game is really going to be, is a defensive battle. Because,
Mm.
I mean, you look at the Ravens defense, they just take the ball away at every opportunity. You've got Geno Stone, you've got Marlon Humphrey, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing other guys, but those were the
Mhm.
first names that come to mind. And then with the Browns defense, you got Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Sione Takitaki, Juan Thornhill, Miles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. So this is going to be a classic defensive battle. I mean,
Mhm.
I know you guys have put up a combined 75 points in 2 of your last 3 games.
Right.
I don't, even though I know what your offense can be, I
Mhm.
don't know if you can put up that type of score in this game.
Well, I mean, we'll see because yeah, this past week the Ravens put up 37, 30 points under Lamar Jackson, because Tyler Huntley came in and threw a touchdown to Odell Beckham Jr. But they put up the dangerous part about it is they put up 30 points, and Lamar Jackson did not throw or rush for a touchdown at all, and he still put up 30 points with Lamar Jackson on the field. The game before that against the Cardinals, they put up 31. The game before that against the Lions, they put up 38. So they know how to score. And the thing that I really appreciated about these Baltimore Ravens right now is that they scoring a good amount of points. They're scoring a lot of points, but Lamar Jackson is not having to be Superman like he would have to be in years past. They're able to get points from other places. They're able to get other contributors and whatnot. So that's been really, really, really nice to see. So I mean, with the Baltimore Ravens, they did like I see Brandon Haley mentioned. He said we already put up 28 points against the Browns before in that defense. Now, while Deshaun Watson he didn't play in that game, it was still the starting Browns defense. So Ravens they scored against them already. And I think now with the Baltimore Ravens just being a little bit stronger than they were in that game. But the Browns are a lot stronger than they were too because again they got their quarterback. So I don't think it'll be a 28-3 game. Like I said before, I think it'll be a lot closer than it was before. But yeah, we are definitely going to see both defenses on full display because they have a lot to deal with. I see a lot of score predictions in the comments. My guy Zach, he said 27-17 Ravens. My guy Byron, he said Watson to Geno connection is gonna be lethal.
Okay. Um,
I like it.
remember that Watson is 1-2 against the Ravens, 0-2 against Lamar. I do know that. Um, I d- so I want to respond to Brandon super quick.
Yeah.
Yes, the Ravens won in week 4, 28-3. But as you said, we didn't have our starting quarterback. It was
Mhm.
DTR. And once you guys went up 7-0, that kind of put us behind the 8 ball because, you know, we didn't know DTR was going to start until basically the day of. It was a whole circus with Deshaun Watson as it's
Yeah, I
been like
remember.
throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
So once Baltimore went up 7-0 early, that kind of put our defense on their heels. That's not to make excuses. I I know it kind of sounds like that, but you know, when you have a rookie quarterback and you fall behind early, that's going to put your defense in a position where they're like, we had to make play every time we go out there,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, that's
they
that's real.
and they just couldn't do it. But I'll tell you what. every time we play Lamar, no matter who our defensive coordinator has been, you guys give us problems. I remember week 1 of 2020, you guys embarrassed us in Baltimore. It was 38 to
Oh,
6.
that one. Okay. Yeah. And that I think that's when I think is that when Marlon Humphrey got an interception? I think he got an interception off of a tip, I think. And
Yeah,
'cause I think
that
Calais
sounds
Campbell
right.
took the ball. But yeah. Yeah, Ravens usually been taking care of business against the Browns for the most part. I think Browns did get us last year. Last year I think that the Ravens and Browns split last year.
That's right. We
Um
beat you in Cleveland.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens in a couple of days. But yeah, like you mentioned earlier, with the game a couple of weeks ago, the 28-3 game, yeah, things are much different. Your team is much different when you don't have your starting quarterback. That changes everything. That changes the dynamic of everything, just like that. Because yeah, your starting quarterback is your starter for a reason, and the backups are your backups for a reason. This is, of course, no disrespect to
Hmm.
either one, but
Right.
your starter is your starter. And without your starter, you just don't have the same hope that you would if you had your starter. And your team, they don't play the same, and they're not schemed the same either. Because your starting quarterback, your starting quarterback, there's a certain way that the offensive coordinator may scheme with him in a game. Versus if your backup's in, because with the starting quarterback, you may be a little more aggressive, you may take some more chances or whatnot, you may do some more stuff, but with a backup, you may be like, you know what, just don't lose the game for us. Just manage it. Just be patient and just don't try to do too much. So yeah, I know that had a huge impact on the game for sure. So now with Deshaun Watson back, that's why I expect it to be a lot closer than it was before. I wouldn't be mad if it's not close and Ravens take care of business again, but I do expect it to be closer in a better game than it was last time. Well, not that it
Yeah.
was a bad game because it was a great game for us, but I expect it to be
Right.
closer.
Um, I mean, you were talking about how you guys barely hung on against the Cardinals, whereas
Hmm.
we shut them out 27 to nothing. But
That's true.
I mean, yeah, we won, had a more impressive win against a common opponent, but I don't know how much stock you can really read into that because for us, like Arizona was playing a rookie quarterback in Clayton Tune. And
Right.
so,
And for that game, we went against Josh Dobbs.
right.
So we went against two completely different quarterbacks. And yeah, it like that right there. Both backup quarterbacks, but one's a veteran and one's a rookie. Like take for example, the Ravens when they played the Colts. They played the Colts, played against Gardner Minshew. Because Anthony Richardson, he's done for the year already. But they played against Gardner Minshew. Backup quarterback, but he's a veteran. Ravens lost. It was a close game. I think the Ravens lost 19-16, something like that. But then you look at when they played against the Browns, DTR, rookie quarterback, and the Browns only scored 3 points. And then you fast forward to when they played against another veteran backup, Josh Dobbs. He gave them trouble, and the Cardinals put up 24 points because the score was I think 31-24. So yeah, that
Mhm.
even with a backup quarterback, it makes a big difference if it's a backup veteran quarter, or it can make a big difference if it's a backup veteran quarterback versus a backup rookie quarterback. And we see the differences in point differential with backup veterans versus backup rookies. So yeah, that makes a big huge difference.
Yes. But looking at the Ravens offense, Todd Monken has come in and it took a while, I think, but he has completely changed this Ravens offense. Like
Mhm.
Lamar isn't so Mark Andrews dependent anymore. He's
That's
passing it
true.
to Zay Flowers, who Zay Flowers has been excellent for you. He's been that speed runner that I think you guys have desperately been looking for. I think he's going to pay huge dividends for you down the line. Um,
Hmm.
OBJ has come in and been that veteran wide receiver making plays when Lamar needs him.
Right.
Uh, Rashad Bateman, when he's healthy, he can make plays. But I'll
Hmm.
tell you what, how do you guys keep finding these running backs? I do not get it with you. Like last week, you have this running back Mitchell coming in, and he's
Hmm.
scoring touchdowns, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, you lose J.K. Dobbins earlier in the
Right.
season, which at the time I thought that was going to be a huge blow for Baltimore's offense, and that would change everything. It certainly
Mm-hmm.
has on our side, losing Nick Chubb.
Oh yeah.
But, I mean, it's like Baltimore is a running back factory or something. I don't get
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah, they have done a really good job of that over the years, and obviously ever since Ray Rice, because that was the last contract. I mean, that was the last really like big contract that they gave to a running back, but and that obviously didn't end so well. But with ever since then, they just really been doing a lot of running back by committee, finding some plug and play guys. I know Justin Forsett, he was somebody that they brought in, and he did a really good job when they had him. Alex Collins, who they got from Seattle Seahawks practice squad, he did a good job. Buck Allen, he was solid. Gus Edwards, and just to get more recent, Gus Edwards back in 2018, undrafted rookie free agent running back, and he's obviously done a good job because here we are 5 years later. Gus Edwards still around and still a significant part of what the Baltimore Ravens do. So shout out to him for that. Justice Hill, he was a fourth round running back a few years back. And yeah, Keaton Mitchell, undrafted rookie free agent. Keaton Mitchell is somebody I remember when the Baltimore Ravens first signed him. I didn't know who he was, but a lot of Ravens fans would tell me they said, "Oh, he's going to definitely make the roster." So I watched him in Ravens preseason, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh wow! Like this guy looks great." And while he wasn't doing it against, it was preseason, so he wasn't going against starters. But I always say, preseason or not, hey, you got to start somewhere because if somebody's doing bad in the preseason against backups, that's a completely different conversation, and that's not one that we want to even have. But the fact that he was doing good and he looked good against backups, I'm like, all right, just imagine him with a starting offensive line. So just wonder what he could do. And with the Baltimore Ravens, something that really stuck out to me about was how they treated Keaton Mitchell, because you know how when they make the initial roster, if you get put on injury reserve before the initial roster, then you're done for the year. That's it. But Keaton Mitchell
Right.
in the second to last preseason game, he got an injury. I forgot what type of injury it was, but I was thinking, oh no, they're gonna stash him now. He's not gonna. They're gonna put him on injury reserve, but they didn't. They allowed him to make the roster first, and then they put him on injury reserve afterwards. So he had to miss what 4 games. But then he came back. So that showed me that they really value Keith Mitchell because they let him make the team, and then they put him on the injury reserve where he could come back later on in the season. Which started a couple of games ago. So that was great. And them really valuing Keaton Mitchell is paid off for sure. And he showed us like right away. And the thing with him that I really, really loved was that with Keaton Mitchell, he's a speed back. They say he's the fastest person on the Baltimore Ravens team. So you would think with somebody being a speed back, like, all right, if they break a big run, then all the blocks have to be perfect. They're not going to be touched because people won't be able to catch them. They're not going to be breaking any tackles. But it was the complete opposite because Keith Mitchell, he was breaking tackles on Sunday against the Seahawks. So that was something that was nice to see. The fact that somebody with so much speed, who's so shifty that he can get some guys up off of him too. So that makes him that much more dangerous. You also talked about with Todd Monken how Todd Monken has just really changed this offense, and he certainly has. He changed the offense for the Baltimore Ravens a lot. I really really like how he's letting Lamar grow, and because the previous offense, I felt like the previous offense that the Ravens had that there was a cap on it, that it had reached its potential. It was not bad, but it just wasn't as great as a lot of these guys could possibly have been. I felt like it was just holding them back. They had already maxed it out, in my opinion, and there was nowhere else for them to go. So I'm glad that they made the change. I wish they would have made it a couple of years sooner, but it is what it is. But now this offense, Lamar's throwing the ball all over the place, and they're letting him. They're letting him be free. They're letting him be loose, and they're giving him control. He really does have the keys to the offense. He has control of the offense, and is showing in a major way. And the fact that, like, a really really good point that you mentioned too, it's not just this offense is not just based off of Mark Andrews anymore. Before it would just, and Mark Andrews still gets his. He's still a big part of it now,
Right.
but it's not Mark Andrews or bust. And that's been really, really nice to see. because obviously that's how it would be before. If Mark Andrews if the passing game wasn't going with Mark Andrews, if it wasn't working with him, then probably wasn't a pretty game for the Baltimore Ravens. But now they can get it from a lot of different places, and while still including Mark Andrews too, but they spread it out a lot more. So I love that.
You know what kind of reminds me of? It's not the same because back in 2012, the Ravens made the change to, I think it was Jim Caldwell a little bit
Mm-hmm.
later in the season.
Right.
But I see a little bit of similarity there where back in 2012, of course, that's the season where you guys went on to beat the 49ers in Super Bowl 47. But,
Mm-hmm.
your offense was going in one direction, and John Harbaugh's like, I see our offense being able to do much more than this. So you
Mm-hmm.
made the switch to Jim Caldwell. And again, you guys went on to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
For me, I kind of see a similarity there a little
Mm.
bit.
Okay, I didn't think about that. You on point with your history too, but yeah, I didn't think about that. But that is a good point because maybe that's how they looked at it. Maybe they like the offense while it was solid, it was doing its thing, but we could have been doing more. We could be getting more out of this offense. So yeah, let's pivot. Let's change the direction of it and go a new way. And yeah, that would be from Giro to Todd Monken. So yeah, good point, man. I ain't never think about
Yeah.
that before.
Um, I mean, you just talked about it, but like Lamar's gotten back to being the passer that he was at Louisville. That was a huge reason he won the Heisman Trophy while he was at
Mm-hmm.
the University of Louisville, and that's a huge reason why you guys traded back in at the end of the first round in 2018 to take Lamar is because of his capabilities as a passer, not just as a runner. Um, of course, we've seen the duels between Deshaun Watson and Lamar. Of course, in college, Deshaun and Clemson got the better of Lamar in
Yeah.
Louisville, but in the NFL, it's been all Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think this is going to be like a more fair game. We've talked about it, like the 28-3 game. I don't know how much you can really read into that because, again, it was our backup quarterback and all this and that. But
Mm-hmm.
this feels this feels more like it's going to be a traditional Browns Ravens close game that comes right down to the final seconds and
Yeah.
probably ends with a Justin Tucker kick, which on one hand is good for me because I have both Lamar Jackson and Justin Tucker on my fantasy team. Um, I also have Odell Beckham Jr. on my bench, so I'm
Oh.
not sure if I'm going to start him this week. But it's fun for me because I'm like I want to root for Lamar, but I can't root for the Ravens, obviously, because I'm a Browns fan. So I'm like, well, crap.
Yeah. So I Odell Beckham Jr. I know you say you got him on your bench. Odell Beckham Jr. It hasn't been a big contributor this season thus far. Last week was definitely his best game. Because he had I want to say 5 catches for like 56 yards. He got his first touchdown. It was in garbage time, but he did get his first touchdown. But before that, he had like 4 catches for 50 yards. So it's been a slow process for him, but it's been like sort of ramping up bit by bit, piece by piece. He did have a fumble last week, which almost thought it was gonna give the Seahawks points, but it didn't because Kyle Vanoy went and got a strip sack a couple plays later. And Ravens got the ball back. But yeah, Odell Beckham Jr. He's been slowly coming along, and with Odell Beckham Jr., I think for him, this season he signed to a big deal, a 1 year, $18 million deal with 15 mil guaranteed. So a lot of money there. But
That contract really surprised me actually when I heard
yeah,
that.
me too. Because I would have never pictured the Baltimore Ravens giving a receiver in free agency that kind of money. What? Who are these Ravens?
Exactly.
Because they don't do that type of stuff.
No,
No,
they
so I was
don't.
shocked. Yeah, I was really, really shocked. But Odell Beckham Jr., while he signed to produce, I think he's also signed he was signed to get Lamar Jackson back too, to just bring Lamar Jackson to the table. But also signed more so for the postseason too. I think they were obviously hoping for production in the regular season, but I think this was like a future deal, to where it's like, all right, we regular season, we've been okay in the regular season. We've been doing our thing in regular season, especially if we stay healthy. But it's the postseason where that's a big question mark. So I think with Odell Beckham Jr. and his postseason experience, Nelson Aguilar too with his postseason experience, because he's a Super Bowl champion as well with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Ravens just wanted some guys that could come in and produce, but also had that experience to help just everybody, so they won't be so rattled. So guys that have been there, done that, come postseason, so Ravens will be even more prepared.
Yeah, I mean, John Harbaugh, he's been to the playoffs multiple times, won a
Right.
Super Bowl. Odell
Mm-hmm.
Beckham Jr., you just talked about it. He has postseason experience. He was probably going to win Super Bowl MVP before he got injured. Um, and you have other guys who have a ton of postseason experience. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you guys won't be rattled when it comes to the playoffs, which you're obviously going to go to the playoffs. And I'll tell you this, I, as of right now, I think you guys are going to end up being the number one seed in the AFC. And the road to the Super Bowl is going to go through M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore.
Oh wow,
I
that,
really
that that would
believe
be
that.
something. That would be something. I think the only time had the Ravens been the number one seed was back in 2019. And yeah, they obviously got stomped by the Titans. But that would be something if Ravens got the number one seed. I know a lot of Ravens fans would not want that, because I know Ravens fans like being sort of underdogs. They like when they are overlooked. But I feel like it's okay to embrace a role where people, they all eyes are on you. Yeah, it does add pressure, but I mean it's the NFL, so you got it's a pressure business. So if you can't deal with the pressure, then you're not built for the NFL. So I wouldn't mind if Ravens did get the number one seed, because that would show that they took care of it in the regular season. They took care of their business. But that would also, yeah, it would give them home field advantage throughout. And I know a lot of Ravens fans are scarred from before, but let 2019 go. It's okay. We can let it go. It happened. It was what it was. We can move on now, and just hope that the Ravens they do really good.
I mean, it's not, you can't even compare 2019 to 2023 because we talked about it. Like, you have a completely different offensive coordinator. Your receivers
Hmm.
are different. Sure, Lamar Jackson is still there. John Harbaugh is there, still there, but
Hmm.
they've changed since 2019. Lamar's not the same type of quarterback he was
Right.
back then. So, yeah, I'm not, if I was a Ravens fan, I wouldn't be concerned about 2019 having any effect on this year's Ravens. But I know you said you got to get going shortly. But before you get going, I just want to show you this. I do have some Ravens memorabilia here.
Nice.
There you go. There you go, buddy.
Oh, you got the
I
Ravens
may
pendant
not
and a stick.
I may not like the Ravens, but I have some Raven stuff. So don't worry about it, buddy. And I'm not gonna be one of these fans that trashes all the Raven stuff. No, I mean, you guys are the team I dislike the most in the division, but I have respect for you because I mean, you guys have stuck with John Harbaugh for years. You've won countless division titles, have 2 Super Bowls. The Browns don't even know what a Super Bowl is. So
All right, so
that's
yeah, and that is true. They have stuck with John Harbaugh. Even times when I was ready for them to move on from John Harbaugh, they did stick it out with him. So hopefully this will be a year where it all ends up paying off in a major way. I think they really do have an opportunity to be true contenders. I remember at the trade deadline, I was expecting and even hoping that they would trade for somebody to make a strong team stronger, but they didn't. But that didn't change the way that I feel about them, because I really do feel like they are a Super Bowl contending team. I feel like the biggest thing that can get in their way, and I said this from the beginning of the season, will be health. If they can stay healthy, they got as good of a shot as anybody does, because the roster, both on offense and defense, they are well equipped for a Super Bowl run. So we'll see how it turns out.
yeah, you guys are definitely well equipped, to make a Super Bowl run. Um, if I had to make a score prediction, as much as I would love to pick the Browns in this game,
Mhm.
we've struggled against the Ravens. Um, so I gotta be objective here. I'm picking the Ravens to win this game probably 20. I'll say 20. You're not going to hit 30 points this time. I'll say 27-21
Okay,
Ravens.
6 point game. I see. Two nice five said 38-9 Ravens. He said Jackson 5 this week. So you think Lamar Jackson going to get 5 touchdowns? He said one running and 4 passing touchdowns. Bateman, Zay. Oh, he even called out people who are gonna who he feels are gonna score. Okay.
Yeah, we got another prediction here 30-17 Ravens. No matter how we play on offense, this team will find a way to keep this 30-plus point streak going like
Mm.
they've done over the past 30 games. Or 3 games, excuse me.
Yeah, I wish it was the past 30 games. Then we might be talking Super Bowl then. But yeah. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's gonna be a fun one. And again, it should be again, even though I got when the Ravens blow somebody out, I'm still interested in the game. I got no problem with that. But I think it'll be a much more interesting game for I think for Browns fans, just on both sides. I think it'll be a lot more tough, and there'll be a lot more stress than there was. Well, at least for us, because last time we played the Browns, it wasn't much stress because it was 28-3, but I think this game will be a lot more of a headache for both sides of the ball on both teams.
Yep. Well, it's always fun working with you, man.
Oh, for sure, man.
I love talking Browns Ravens with you. Dude, you're one of the guys that really, along with Norb, you're
Oh,
one of
no,
the
that's
guys
cool.
you're one of the guys that like inspired me to become a YouTuber and actually start making this kind of content. So I can't thank you enough for that.
Oh no,
Um,
I'm glad you jumped in, and I did see you got to meet Noah a couple
yes, I
weeks ago,
did.
man.
Yeah, last week up in Seattle, I was at that game and I actually got to meet Norb, so that
Yeah,
was fun. And
that's
then I
cool,
saw
man.
you did a video collaboration with Norb this past
Yeah,
week. So, but yeah, it was you and Norb really that inspired me to become a YouTuber. So I can't thank you enough for that, man.
no problem. I'm glad you got to get after it, man, and just keep having fun with it and do your thing, and hopefully it takes off.
I appreciate it. But this has been another Browns video collaboration with my man Engraven Vids. If you liked what you saw, make sure you punch that subscribe button like a USC
Mm-hmm.
player, and make sure you hit the like button with the Judas effect, courtesy of Chris Jericho. And stay tuned because I'm going to be making more Browns content. Maybe we'll do a post game video on Monday or Tuesday. We can talk about it. But for Engraven Vids, I'm Unger to the Max. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.